We begin this story from a place of unease, because with everything we have seen unfolding in Port Charles, it feels impossible to ignore the growing shadow hanging over Alexis. From the outside, it may look like she is simply another lawyer navigating a morally gray case. But when we slow down and trace every choice, every pause, and every silence, we start to see a pattern that is far more dangerous. We are not just talking about a professional misstep or a lapse in judgment. We are talking about a deliberate decision to hold onto a truth that could alter lives, verdicts, and destinies. And once that line is crossed, there is no clean way back. From what we have witnessed, there are a few predictions we cannot shake regarding Alexis's fate. Possibly, she has already committed a serious crime by withholding crucial evidence. Possibly, that decision alone could be enough to strip her of her law license, the very identity she has built her life around. And hypothetically, if the court determines that her silence directly influenced a verdict, then prison may not be an abstract threat anymore, but a very real outcome waiting for her. According to what has been hinted at within General Hospital, Alexis does not appear to be accidentally blind to the truth. She looks like someone who knows exactly what she is doing and why she is doing it. We have said this many times before, and we will say it again now because it matters. This storyline feels like it is preparing to move in a new and darker direction, one where good intentions are no longer a valid defense. Alexis has always walked the line between compassion and legality, but this time, she may have stepped too far over it. We remember the moment Diane advised Alexis to continue defending Willow. On the surface, it seemed like standard legal counsel between colleagues, even friends. Diane urged her not to back away, not to create suspicion through hesitation. And we could see Alexis hesitate, even if only briefly. That hesitation was not just about strategy. It was about fear. Diane likely warned her not to provoke Drew, because doing so would almost certainly cost Alexis dearly. Drew is not just an emotional wild card. He has power, influence, and leverage. Angering him could result in Alexis losing certain privileges and, more painfully, losing access to Scout. For Alexis, that threat alone is devastating. But here is where things get complicated, and where we believe Diane was operating with incomplete information. At that time, Diane likely did not know that Alexis was holding onto a secret explosive enough to destroy all of them. The secret we are referring to is not vague or symbolic. Alexis knows that Willow is the one who shot Drew. She knows it as a fact, not a suspicion, and yet she chose silence. Alexis, knowing the truth and keeping quiet, has, so far, kept her safe. On the surface, nothing has collapsed yet. She still walks free. She still practices law. She still maintains her relationships. But safety built on a lie is fragile. And from what we can see, that fragile structure is about to crack. We strongly believe that Alexis is about to become the focus of Diane's attention. Not as a friend, but as an obstacle. The reason is simple and chilling. Alexis may be maneuvering the narrative in a way that subtly points blame toward Michael. She does not need to accuse him outright. She only needs to suggest, imply, or allow others to draw the conclusion themselves. In a court of law, implication can be just as powerful as accusation. And Alexis is skilled enough to know that. As a longtime lawyer for the Corinthos family, Alexis understands the weight of her words and silences. She has defended Sonny, Carly, and Jason in the past. She knows how cases turn on perception. She also knows that Diane is, by nature and by profession, loyal to her clients above all else. That loyalty does not bend for friendship when the stakes are high. It is very likely that Diane will step in as Michael's defense attorney. That is not personal. That is her job. And once she steps into that role, the rules change. The courtroom does not care about shared history, late-night confidences, or past favors. Once the case begins, there are no friends, only sides. We suspect that Diane may decide to put Alexis on the witness stand during Michael's trial. That alone would be a dramatic turning point, but the implications run much deeper. Diane is meticulous. She does not make moves without evidence. If she brings Alexis forward, it will be because she has proof, or at least a strong foundation, suggesting that Alexis deliberately concealed the truth to protect Willow. Imagine the weight of that moment. Alexis, once a respected attorney, now under oath, facing questions designed not to clarify, but to expose. Diane could present evidence showing that Alexis's silence misled the court, influence judicial decisions, and contributed to a false narrative. Even if Willow cannot be sent back to prison due to procedural limitations, the damage does not end there. At the very least, Diane could clear Michael's name by demonstrating that he was never the shooter. That alone would reshape the entire case. But clearing Michael would come at a cost, and that cost would almost certainly be Alexis. We strongly suspect that this could mean Alexis being formally charged. Losing her license would be the first blow, a public and irreversible fall from professional grace. Worse still, there's a real possibility that Alexis could face prison time for aiding a murderer after a court ruling. That is not a technicality. That is a serious felony. What makes this story even more tragic is that Alexis likely believed she was doing the right thing. She may have convinced herself that protecting Willow was an act of mercy, that revealing the truth would cause more harm than good. But the law does not measure intentions in that way. It measures actions and consequences. As we look ahead, we can see multiple paths unfolding, each darker than the last. Possibly, Alexis will attempt to justify her silence, arguing that she lacked definitive proof. Possibly, she will claim she was acting under emotional duress or fear of retaliation. Hypothetically, she could even attempt to negotiate immunity by finally revealing everything. But each of those options requires one thing she may no longer have: credibility. The emotional fallout will be just as devastating as the legal one. Diane will not take this lightly. Being misled by a friend, especially in a case with such high stakes, cuts deep. Drew's reaction will be explosive. Michael's trust, once broken, may never be repaired. And Scout, the child Alexis fought so hard to protect, may end up paying the price for choices she never made. In the end, we believe this storyline is not just about guilt or innocence. It is about the cost of silence and the illusion of control. Alexis believed she could manage the truth, keep it contained, and decide when, or if, it should come out. But truth has a way of surfacing at the worst possible moment. As this arc reaches its conclusion, we expect it to leave scars on everyone involved. Alexis's fall will not be quick or quiet. It will be slow, public, and painful. And when it is over, nothing in Port Charles will look the same again.